Council, Monday, July 21st, 0900 in Council Chambers. First item would be the agenda. Is there any additions to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda will be adopted by consensus as is. No delegations. Going to be a short meeting today. One item on the agenda. Under Business 1, a report from the building inspector on alterations to RVs and recreational vehicle parks. Please.
Thank you. A little bit of background. This town of Osoyoos. I have to turn this on? How do we do
Button
that?
to press.
There we go. Yeah. I just got to get closer. Sorry about that. Town of Osoyoos zoning bylaw contains zone regulations for RVs under sections 8.10, R8 recreational vehicle strata resort, and 8.16 C5 recreational park campground. The properties in question include the Oasis RV Resort, Island View Resort, Paradise Park, and Walton's Mountain RV Resort. The following statement is an official condition of use for both zones within the bylaw. The location of camp stalls and recreational vehicles stalls shall be subject to other bylaws of the town of Osoyoos that regulate campgrounds and recreational vehicle parks. Now, the problem is that there are no other bylaws or official policies that regulate recreational vehicle parks or campgrounds to the best of our knowledge. Currently within our recreational vehicle parks there are about 280 RV units at any given time. Most of the units are of the park model type and remain permanently fixed on the site year-round. Park model units come in two distinct categories. The Park Model Trailer 102 is a unit designed to be towed by a heavy-duty tow vehicle, but is of restricted size and weight so that it does not require a special highways movement permit. This vehicle is built on a single chassis with permanent wheels and permanently affixed towing gear. It cannot exceed 2.6 meters in width or 400 square feet in gross floor area. The other one is the Park Model Recreational Unit. The unit is also built on a single chassis, but the wheels and towing gear can be removed and returned to the factory for reuse. Not designed for frequent towing, it has a width greater than 2.6 meters and a maximum floor area of 540 square feet. This unit always requires a special highways movement permit. Both types of vehicles are considered as recreational vehicles and therefore not required to meet the BC Building Code requirements for structural integrity or spatial separation. Owners of these types of units are always looking to expand the floor area and add sun decks and what they call Arizona rooms, roof structures, and other types of construction and alteration. Although not regulated by the BC Building Code, these units are subject to compliance with other standards, such as CSA standard Z240 RV, that's for the Park Model 102 and smaller recreational vehicles, and Z241 RV, which is the Park Model Recreational Standard now, that do regulate installation procedures and towability and spatial separation on the site. These standards must be met to ensure a level of fire safety is achieved within the park and that emergency responders have a chance of controlling the spread of fire in an emergency situation. Historically, the town has issued building permits to alter the units, but most of the construction has been unauthorized. The BC Safety Authority is the authority having jurisdiction over electrical and propane gas installations and alterations to recreational units in BC. They are extremely concerned with allowing alterations of RV units as the alteration of propane, electrical, or structural systems will void the CSA certification. In May of 2012, a fire in an RV park in Summerland drew attention to RV parks across the province. Alterations and unauthorized constructions and additions to RV units prevented the emergency responders from controlling the fire quickly. Some of the units could not be towed away or quickly moved as required by installation standards. Fortunately, there were no fatalities or serious injury, but the district has been exposed to legal reprisal due to excessive property damage. Research on the subject has revealed that other local governments have bylaws in place that directly address the issue of additions and alterations to RV park units and campsites, including the RDOS, East Kootenay Regional District, City of Penticton, City of Salmon Arm, to name a few. Other districts such as Summerland have developed an official policy that specifically addresses these issues. And the options here are, number one, develop a bylaw specifically addressing the maximum size and type of RV unit permitted within an RV park and prohibiting or closely regulating alterations to additions to RV units. Adopt an official policy addressing additions and alterations to RV units and limiting their size, and amending the zoning bylaw to remove the condition that refers to other Town of Osoyoos bylaws. Amend the zoning bylaw to remove the condition of use that refers to both town bylaws and some specific requirements, and adds, some specific requirements for RVs. And our recommendation here is staff is seeking direction from council regarding the approach to regulate the alteration of recreational vehicles within properties where recreational vehicles are a permitted use.
Thank you, Mr. Paget. I think that brings up quite a few issues, actually. Go to council first. If not here, okay.
Thanks. Thank you. This is a bit scary, this whole issue, and you can certainly understand what the problems are. I definitely think that we need some sort of regulations, a bylaw, an official policy or something, considering the fact that we have so many RV sites and units in our town. So I'm assuming you've got those from other areas, the RDOS and Summerland and so on?
Yeah, I've been reading up on all those bylaws and the policies that go along with them.
Good.
There's
well,
some really good stuff there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, I don't
no,
think.
of course not. Oh, well, that's good, because obviously it needs to be dealt with. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think we could be moving. Mr. Mankel, please.
Neil, just a clarification. So from your experience, we have a number of these particular types of additions onto our park models in our RV areas right now?
Yeah, there's quite a few, and some of them have actually been built with a building permit.
Oh, okay. So if we were to, or council was to develop some type of broader regulation, where would that put some existing structures? Now you've identified two particular categories, probably ones with building permits and ones without.
Definitely.
Yeah. Is there a way that council could deal with these?
Well, I'm not sure about the legality of that, but I'm not sure if we would look at the existing ones as legal non-conforming to whatever we produce, whether it's a policy or a bylaw, or whether we go back and start at the beginning. Summerland went in there guns blazing and gave everybody 60 days to tear everything down. I don't know whether we need to do that or not.
But in some situations, even though they have a building permit, they are actually contrary to building code and the safety standards for the unit, right?
The ones that have a building permit, to the best of my knowledge, and it goes back, those permits, I researched them all, it goes back to about 93, 94 when we started issuing them. The biggest problem there, it's not the addition to the unit, it's what happens to the unit when you open up the wall and start pulling in more wires and adding more circuits to an overloaded circuit panel that's only 30 amps, and adding a 100-pound propane tank and using the same little regulator and increasing all the use of all these systems without any permits. That's where the safety authority gets upset, because they come in and they see these things and they're like, well, these are unsafe. And they may or may not have been making the structure unsafe at the same time. The addition to that unit is done to the building code. So it's on a foundation and it meets all the requirements. But the RV unit is left uncertified at that point. So don't know what the legality is there if there is a fire and it started in the RV and spread to the rest of the structure. Not sure how that would play out.
I think in some of the parks, that I've seen, I think there would be a space issue in between the units also that is probably not what we would like to see, less than what we would like to see, if I may.
And the biggest problem there is, again, because they're not BC Building Code regulated structures, we can't use the BC Building Code spatial separation requirements. There's a calculation that you can do that tells you how far from the property line you need to be with so many windows and all that kind of stuff. But here we can't apply that, so we need to address that in either a policy or a bylaw and create our own spatial separation that satisfies the fire department's requirements and in our office as well.
This is huge. I'm thinking, I'm just going to throw something else out on the table that maybe at a UBCM this should be referred to the bigger body. This is a province-wide situation, and no matter what we do, we're not going to get it right, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. And I think we got some more issues out here right now. Councillor Rhodes, you had something?
Well, I was just going to, and I think it might be a statement of the obvious. I really support the bylaw approach to it. I think it's something that the minute that we get the 3 readings and the finalization of the bylaw, we're going to prevent reoccurrences of it. And I think that's very, very important that we stop any more of this stuff going on. What we do about the historical aspect of it is where it really becomes problematic. And I can think just in just kind of reviewing some of the places, probably about 25 or 30 locations that are in terrible violation of that. I'm not exactly sure about the legalities of bylaws being retroactive. That's a little bit of a difficult thing to always deal with. But I certainly support getting on this right away and reviewing some of the other towns and cities that you referred to, and maybe coming up with a bylaw that really works well for us so that we stop the process should be our first step. How we deal with that other stuff, that is so problematic and so confrontational, I don't even know what we can do about it. I am very, very concerned about some of those violations, permitted or otherwise, that bring in the fire aspect of it. I know of a couple of locations right now, if there was a fire, it would be like a large apartment building burning down, for crying out loud. And what we do about that, maybe Mayor Wells is correct, maybe there's a bigger body of governance that needs to step in here and correct these situations on their own. And but we can certainly do our part to stop reoccurrences of it, I think, by bringing these bylaws in as soon as we can.
Councillor Blunt.
A little further than that, coming from Alberta and being part of the oil field, there was always this thing, when we came back, somebody would always have a large pocket full of money, and they want to buy the biggest RV they could, so the next time they went to that campsite, they could show off the 4 slide outs and all the fun stuff. We started going to these small RV parks, and what they started to do was they said, listen, these are not fitting, these will not fit within our site, and these are the safety reasons. So this is happening. There's people that are starting to take it on, but I also think we need to come from the management side of these RV parks. Understanding what happened in Summerland, understanding the safety issue of it. I think there's a positivity that can come back through this if we build through management RV parks, bylaws that'll stop that from happening here. So somehow we have to really connect with them. I like the idea of putting a bylaw, but we need some connection with them so they all understand why we're actually doing this. And I do believe that there is a bigger picture that we need to go province. We need to go to the province, because you're right, this is a province-wide situation. But it is happening. I know in Alberta, they would stop our guys right at the campsites. Listen, that thing, we have no place to put that. It'll cause issues for everyone else in this camp, and we just don't have the spaces. And if we can get away from the money mentality, is that always we need an RV, we need it in here so we can pay some bills. But at the end of the day, I think it's got to come down to the safety issue. And I don't know if that's working again with the fire department to now go through these spots. I don't know. But we need to do something. Yeah, that'll be an ugly day if that happens, for sure.
Very, very much so. Director Cunningham?
Yeah, I'm just asking Neil if BC Safety Authority, who have raised the alarm, can have any role in terms of going out there and looking at situations which may be highly dangerous and giving advice to the people that own these units, and if they have their own enforcement authority to go further than that.
Since the fire in Summerland, they've been doing exactly that, and that's what brought our attention to it
Yeah.
in great detail. The safety authority came to us and said, what's going on? You know, this can't continue. So they've gone through Paradise Park, they've gone through, actually our RV parks are not in that bad a shape. I mean, Oasis and RV, they're well run, there's some room there, the roads are kept clear. It's some of the smaller ones where there's no way you're getting a fire truck in Paradise Park or anywhere like that. But the safety authority has been through all of them and looking directly at the RV unit itself, have contacted the owners and said, you need to get this recertified. We'll give you this much time to do it. So they're for electrical and propane only. So they've been on a program to do that for about a year and a half now. I'd like to bring them into anything that we decide to do. I'd like to meet with them and see what their requirements actually are. They operate on a different set of codes than we do, and I'm not fully up to speed on that, so they would be a big help in developing anything that we put together.
Well, I think it's obvious that we're moving ahead with further investigation, but at this point, I'd like to introduce everybody to what I consider the real elephant in the room, and that's the taxation. We have people that are living in these year-round. They are year-round homes. The way that they are mounted in the park itself, they are not taxable. So where's that fairness come in for everyone paying their fair share? And do we that statement that I made about not taxable, I wish Mr. Zackel was here, but like there's certainly not on an assessment, and part of us moving forward with that wish property and that recommendation was wherever it goes with the Agricultural Land Commission, that's up to them. But if it did go ahead, we had dialogue with the owner developer that they were going to be mounted in such a way that they became part of our tax assessment base. And if they're not, and we have year-round residents that are using Sonora and facilities like that, and if we're not getting that assessment from these properties, which I think should be part of our if we're going into this, it should be part of what we're going to do in the future, how we're going to have these mounted, because there's quite a difference there, and I would really like the whole financial component as a part of this. If we're looking at it, let's look at the whole picture, and that's.
We can do that.
Sorry to drop that bomb, but
we knew that was coming.
Oh, you knew it was coming.
It might as well be dealt with as part of this package rather than move it later, because it could have obviously some implication for the bylaw regulations that are put out. And maybe from now on we require some sort of mounting of these units onto a foundation that would meet BC Taxation Authority's requirement for being taxed as a building. So we can look into that and take recommendations back to council that if that's the way that we have to increase our taxation basis, then that should be a requirement. The other thing which I would like to address, and I've thought about this for a long time, is that Neil mentioned the separation differences, and that's very, very difficult to police because somebody puts an addition on. You're going to go out there afterwards with a tape measure and say, well, you just went over. I think we need to identify the equivalent of a minimum site area. They're not lots, but we can specify sites just as we can with lots and stratas and so on. I think we need to do that. It's done in other places, more back east, and I think we should follow that practice.
Because I know, and I don't know if this is current or not, but I know that some of them are even, you buy shares in the corporation.
Right.
That share number 61 allows you to use lot number 61.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, there's a lot of differences out there. And even and whether on that taxation issue, if we come up with some clarity, because I don't think any of us sitting here know the answer to that taxation. And if we had some clarity where we knew, that would be a big step forward. Okay. Councilor Rhodes.
Thanks again. As part of the information that we receive, I'd be very interested to know definitively our ability to make bylaws retroactive. I think that may answer an awful lot of our questions about what we're going to do. And yeah, and I totally support that collaboration thing. I know with one of the listed names on there, we already know that they've expressed an interest in being very combative with us on that. And you know, so often those problems are solved by the collaboration and getting together with those folks and, you know, doing what works for everybody. And so I like your comment, and I really support that, not just with them, but with all of them. And I think that'll make it a lot easier transition from where we are now to where we're going with it.
So I'm looking for, are you saying that we should be going, because I'm maybe I need some clarity, Councillor Rhodes, on that last statement. Should we be coming down heavy, or, because I don't see that. I don't see retroactivity. I think you have to go with grandfathered situations and things like that. I don't think we can go down there and try to do what was referred to in Summerland. There's safety issues. This is that slope when we start going down. If you are aware of it and you don't act on it, then it puts the town in that real tough position. So the cat is out right now. So it looks like we are going to have to take a fairly major position here. CEO Romanko.
Yeah, I think part of our overall assessment would be to get a legal opinion about what the options are, what the enforcement options are. I think the bigger issue, correct me if I'm wrong here, is how do we want to approach it? And I'm hearing that if we are going to enforce it, we should be enforcing a bylaw, whatever that bylaw is, and then we bring all kinds of options to the table relative to how that bylaw is developed, recognizing potentially what our situation is with the development. Because what I was hearing is kind of don't do anything, policy or bylaw, and quite frankly, policies won't move people. Am I right in that type of
Yes, you're absolutely
assessment?
Right. It's not strong enough.
But when we bring something to council, it would have kind of a full exploration of the entire picture, and and what I'm hearing is, yes, there's existing non-conforming, but existing non-conforming may also put us in a position of liability.
Well, I think we know what the legal opinion is going to say. It's going to say exactly that, and then we're into a real hardship situation for a lot of people in that style of accommodation. I think this. I like my first comment. Let's get this out to UBCM to deal with this.
I think we have to need a nuanced approach to this, and clearly people's units shouldn't be towed out overnight, kind of thing, just on the basis of a bylaw. But I would draw the line on the basis of safety, and if there are units in there that don't meet elementary propane and electrical safety issues, I think we need to draw a line there. But they can get the advice from BC Safety Authority. They can be told what has to be done. They can be given a grace period to comply with that. But if we've got units in there that because of their Hollywood rooms or whatever are a foot closer to the next unit than they should be, that is on the other side of the line, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I
But-
mean, it's here, it's at the table, it has to, you can't throw the cover back over it.
But
So-
we need to get a legal opinion on what constitutes legal non-conforming in these kind of situations. There's some case law in terms of mobile homes, and it's kind of interesting because the whole mobile home could be taken away or burnt down, but if there was a pad there, that is regarded as being a legally non-conforming structure that somebody can rebuild it there again.
Okay.
What's the situation with park models? If they get taken away, is that gone? I don't know. We need to find that out. I see what you're saying.
Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For clarity's sake, I would never suggest getting a legal opinion so that we could be combative about it. I want that made perfectly clear. I think the knowledge of how bylaws affect people in a retroactive way is a very valuable tool for us. Never would I suggest that we do anything like they did in Summerland or anything else. As a matter of fact, just once again for clarity, I would be the opposite of that. That collaboration thing is so important to me, and it's how I make decisions about things. So, yeah, nothing combative at all, although it's a very valuable tool to have that that legal advice or that opinion or whatever you want to call it, just because it's important in this instance.
And thanks, Councillor Rhodes. I just wasn't quite sure exactly where you were on that first go around, and I wanted that and you to have that opportunity for that clarity. That I feel a lot better that we're on the same page. Councillor Plant?
No, it's all good,
Okay. Councillor McCurdo.
Thank you. I just think this is such a touchy issue that it's going to be extremely important for us, whatever we do, to look at the education of why we're doing it and how we're going to do it, and to make people, because people are going to get their backs up right away if they think that there's going to be a problem with their own homes and where they live. So, and rightly so, anybody would be. But we need to make sure that people know that for why we're having to change things or have a look at things, and it's for their safety and everybody else's safety. So education is key to this, I think.
Okay, last words, everybody. Thank you very much. And you have all the information. You probably have that. Could be, by the time we get the assessment angle on that, it'll probably be everyone will be able to work right to retirement. This is going to be a big issue.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks,
And good input, Council. That was well done, well received. And so at this point, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Rhodes, McCordoff, all in favor. We're adjourned. 3-minute recess.
Yeah. How have they done?
Yeah, it is. Oh, look at the number of them out there.
I'd forgotten.
We'd have a guy that would go back into town and he would trade in his 2 slide to get a 4 slider.
Because he wanted to.